Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Rugby Abroad podcast for Season 2. If you're tuning in for the first time, welcome, and if you're re-tuning in, welcome back. I'm your host, Sam Katz, a professional rugby player, English, but I've been known to do a few episodes in Spanish as well from time to time. But besides the point, delighted to be here again with you. And before we kickstart Season 2, I just wanted to say a massive thank you to all the listeners and viewers on YouTube who made Season 1 such a great success. We had well over 1,000 downloads for the first 10 episodes and almost 2,000 views as well on YouTube. So that really makes doing this worthwhile. And so I just wanted to say a massive thank you to you guys. Yeah, we had some really interesting conversations spanning across the rugby globe, and it was really eye-opening, some great feedback, some great response. And here I am again for Season 2. I'm actually on the lookout for a social media manager. If you know anyone who might fit the role, feel free to drop me a DM. Other than that, just wanted to say a big thanks as well to Matt Ryan, who made the music for the podcast. He's a singer-songwriter. You can find him on SoundCloud, on Spotify, if you want to check out his stuff. There'll be some really exciting news announced, probably on later episodes, just about collaborations, future projects too. If you want to get involved, please don't hesitate to contact me. You can just direct message me on any of the social media networks or however you like. Finally, and obviously, don't forget to subscribe and visit us for more details at rugbyabroad.com. Massive welcome back to the Rugby Abroad podcast. It's been a bit of a two month break, kind of forced, getting my life sorted out, but I've got with me today a kind of special guest to kick off Season 2 of the Rugby Abroad podcast. We're here for episode 11 with Luca Petrozzi, current, I hope I pronounced that right, I know it's obviously an Italian.
Yeah, I've heard a lot worse, so it's fine.
And he's current scrum half of Benetton Treviso Rugby, playing in the Pro 14, I believe it's still called, and based in Treviso currently. Mate, thanks so much for coming on to kickstart us off for Season 2. Firstly, obviously we played a little bit together last year in Saint Donat, and I've just been following your journey a bit and just knowing a bit about how everything kicked off for you. And really just want, for anyone watching that doesn't know, you're English and you're playing abroad in Italy. You've got Italian family, is that right?
Yeah, grandparents were born in Italy and then came over, like obviously wartime, emigrated over to England, and then we've just been settled there in Kent ever since.
And were they rugby people, or did they? No.
I think my granddad just switches from team to team, like whoever he's watching on the TV. 1 week is Arsenal, 1 week is Chelsea. He doesn't know anything about rugby until we started playing. Then obviously my dad took me to rugby. Took me to football first, didn't like it, even being a football player, like enthusiast himself, and then preferred rugby for his kids, so we just stuck with that.
Awesome. And so you just enjoyed it straight away when you got into it?
Yeah, it used to be the touch, didn't it? Not the tag pulling the little belts.
Yeah.
So there was a little bit of physicality about it. I preferred that to the football. But I think my dad preferred the sidelines. Didn't like the sidelines of the football, or the dad's getting involved and shouting and that. So yeah,
I know how that one is as well. It was a bit of a similar story. I started with football and moved over to rugby.
Your choice, or?
Yeah, no, it wasn't. Yeah, my dad was doing like journeys to football matches and then rugby matches, and at some point I had to decide between the two. And so yeah, it was kind of more, but he was like one of them to stand over, not with the other parents. I'm sure you're at the football because he didn't like it either.
Don't like that atmosphere.
Yeah, the atmosphere is a bit chaos, isn't it?
Harsh, isn't it?
Yeah, mate. So I'm just getting back into the podcast flex per se, and it's great to have you on.
Okay.
I wanted to ask if you had any idea that you'd end up in Italy. Is it something that was from a young age that you sort of sought out professional rugby, or were you just going through? You obviously had a talent for it, but when did you realise that you wanted to go pro? And then when did you realise that you wanted to sort of move abroad?
So obviously aspirational through school, you want to play for academy, get a contract. And I was kind of like floating about the Saracen stuff at 16 to 18, then didn't get a contract at the end of school. Had my uncle and family out here who knew a couple of Benetton players. So they got me into the under-20s, like sent the clips off, came over for a trial, did the under-20 season with them. Then at the end of the year, they made me the offer of doing like a permit deal. So you do half with a lower league club Italian side and half with Benetton. Or on the other hand, I could have gone to University Bath. I'd already had my place at Bath, so I decided to go there because speaking to a couple of the Benetton boys, Australian lad Jimmy and Rossini, he gave me strong advice to go to university first. He said, if you're good enough or if you push hard enough, the opportunity will arise again, but it's more important to get that plan B covered than plan A. Seemed like a wise guy at the time. Like, I'm happy that I took his advice then, because it's worked out. But if it hadn't worked out and I'd gone to university and nothing had happened, then it would have been a bit of a fuck up. But decided to go uni, did my uni stuff, didn't get a contract at the end of uni. Yeah. So then having opened these connections in Italy, kind of chanced my arm again, called up and played that Sunderland year, went from there.
Mate, that's awesome. I mean, it's obviously a different route. Doing the university route is something I did as well. Went up to Loughborough and studied there and played at the same time. I think it's that route isn't really a respected route, I guess. I don't know if you agree. But I think it's a route that guys are doing more and more, and they're getting to the top level of the game. Yeah. Even despite not having been chosen at a younger age in the academy. Why do you reckon that is?
Obviously, it's more respected, or you're seen as a better player if you go straight from school to academy to professional contract, because you don't get overlooked. Yeah. Then there's just as good players who maybe have developed physically later on, who didn't make it at school, who then went to university or made the same decision as me and you. If you look at in the Prem, Don Brandt tearing up. There's a couple other Quins boys. There's a couple, that Cardiff Met lad, Wainwright, I think, in the Wales squad now, just to name but a few. Obviously, the talent's there. And I think if you played a uni team against like a senior academy side, and I think it'd probably be a close game between the top side. So I think clubs now are looking more into the university because they know there's good crop coming through, especially recently.
No, I guess there's two ways of mixing it that I'm seeing at the moment, and that's guys that are getting their professional contracts early and then are sort of doing part-time studying while they're playing. And then guys that are actually going to university, having that experience away from home, maybe even maturing a bit more as a result, and then being able to play rugby at a good level while being in that university environment. I think it's an interesting one to just look at the two side by side. But anyway, just going back to your journey before you went to move over to Italy and got this contract with Treviso. You were part of the Sevens team, I think, with Italy. How did that come about? Yeah,
so that first year that I did in Italy after moving from university, I think they're just kind of looking for players all the time. And I think the top teams, Zebra and Benetton, don't really like to lend their players to the Sevens circuit because it's not really well funded. It's not really seen as a potential for growth. Really, that's what it seems like, having played for a bit. So they do look for the lower league teams, and just you go a couple camps. It's a good experience. You go away to Spain. I went to France, had like a nice tournament at Exeter a couple of years, but it is Sevens. I'm happy to see the back of it, mate.
It's hard work.
Playing against some of those boys. I think we played against the England team in Exeter, Dan Norton. Couple injuries, I found myself marking him. Don't think I touched the geezer all game, bro. I think he scored a hat trick, just skinning me. Scrum half the wing, it's terrible. But it was good to be good experience.
Despite that, exactly. So obviously Italy's not like a well-known team on the circuit or anything, but I guess did it get your name in the hat in terms of being in the Italy setup? I mean, getting to know players, coaches and stuff before you moved over there officially. Did that help out?
I honestly think it's quite separate. I don't think many boys have moved from like the Sevens to the 15s. I think the 15s is a lot better funded. Yeah. Sometimes with the Sevens, you could really feel like the lack of the lack of funding, whether it was in terms of where we stayed, how we got there, kit, like just small things like that, which other teams you look and they're all kitted out and they're going in the nice hotels. We would kind of stay in hostels sometimes. Off field, it was a little, not stressful, but it was a little unprofessional, let's say. But on field fight, you got to say the Italians give it heart. Like they do want to turn up for their country, and it was good playing against those guys. You see on the HSBC series and stuff when you play those home tournaments in Europe. No, it was good.
Awesome, man. Awesome. And you obviously made the big move away from home after uni. Did you have family out here? Was that a tough move to make? Did you have mates out here already? How did that go down? And what was that like from a mental standpoint coming out?
So that whole year when I played for the under-20s, I stayed with my auntie and her husband and their family the whole year. And obviously made a couple of friends who played for Benetton under-20s at the time. So coming back, didn't know anyone at Sandona that first year, but obviously it's easy to integrate like in this kind of environment. You've got boys of the same interest, same age, and you're always with them 4 or 5 times a week. So it wasn't too difficult. And then moving to Benetton, knew 3 or 4 boys, knew a couple of the coaches as well. So it wasn't too bad. And in terms of living on my own, had done it at university for 4 years. So that transition, already having a bit of language and capability to live on my own, it was okay. It was just a bit of a cultural difference. That's about it.
Yeah, man. I guess for you, Italy was kind of like the perfect choice, written in the stars already. I guess because
it was okay.
The family's there, and I guess that makes the move all the more easier, which is great. Word in the air, a few weeks ago, I saw your name down on the list for the Italy 15s camp. Like you said, not many players go from playing 7s for Italy to then playing 15s, but this has been a massive year for you, I think, in terms of being at one level last year and pushing for that contract that you were desperate for, and then getting it. And then pushing for a starting place at Benetton, which you obviously been starting quite a few games. I'm just off the top of my head, I'm not sure. Maybe you could tell us like how many games you've started and how that's been at Benetton and how that's resulted in you pushing for a place in the Italy squad, which is unreal, mate. And the turnaround in like the last 2 years for you you must be on cloud 9.
It's kind of went into it with the nothing to lose attitude. Yeah. So that first year, I could always see it as a building block of like when we were at Sandona, it was like a building block. Yeah, just establish some foundations. When you get to Benetton, it's your whole livelihood, isn't it? You've got nothing to lose. You want to give everything. So you have an open mind. You go to training, you try your hardest, you do everything you can, and then you kind of let it take its own course. I never expected to get a chance with Italy so soon, off the back of like some decent performances last year. Obviously, there was a couple injuries as well. I know to a couple of the scrum halves, they like to get you in, get you a feel for it, and not expected, but a great achievement, I guess, like a lifetime goal.
Yeah, look at that, man. To represent. To be part of the international training camp, that's that's dream status. But obviously, the next step is when do you get that first cap? And I guess from what you're saying there, there's no rush. Just it sounds like you're just taking it each game as it comes, each opportunity as it comes, and making the most of them like that. Did you? Has there been a squad announcement as such? Or?
Yeah, I think because of this Six Nations, because of COVID and the Nations Cup, is it Nations Cup or that 8 Nations tournament? I think they've taken a squad for those last 2 games, and then there's a small break, and then I think or they'll take the same players or another squad will be announced, or I'm not really sure how it works. Another squad for that 8 Nations tournament.
So is there's possibility? Because
there's possibility. I spoke to the coaches. Obviously, it's disappointing not to get selected for the camp for these last 2 games. They've given me stuff to work on. So obviously, you go away when you do extras. You try and emphasise as much as you can in training. There's a couple of Benetton coaches are with Italy. You you want that good feedback from the coaches into Italy.
Right.
I know they're like well connected. So yeah, having got that feedback and not having made that kind of just spurs you on to push on for the next opportunity, which there's no time limit on it, is there really?
Yeah.
Hopefully sooner rather than later, hopefully. But yeah, just patience, I guess. It's been a long wait, isn't it, to get here? So what's another, however, 6 months, year or whatever.
Yeah, man, I guess it's good to have that continuity of having the coaches that are seeing you training week in, week out at Benetton, some of them also being involved in Italy, and knowing those guys and them knowing you. I guess that's good and makes it easier to get feedback and stuff like that. What I wanted to mention was, I guess we were chatting a bit last year, and something that I hope it's all right if I bring up was that at some points last year, our team, Sandonau, wasn't in a great place. Obviously, you'd had this opportunity. You were going for the Benetton contract, and I think early on in last season, it was, you weren't sure if that was coming in or not. And I remember talking to you, and it wasn't the nicest places to be mentally. And I think at one point maybe you even mentioned sort of binning the professional rugby career, maybe moving back home before whatever happened with Benetton came about. How did that massive 180 happen? Was it something? Were you just fed up with rugby? Is it, like you say, it's been a long journey, it's been a long wait for you? How come the 180? And now obviously you seem more determined than ever to get right to the top now. But what was that point last
As
year?
you know, Sandonau is a pretty tough environment to stay positive. Like the conditions, facilities, that kind of stuff. You're not going into that professional environment where you think you're growing, you think you're learning, and it's just kind of goes really stagnant, and you feel stagnant. You feel like you're not improving. So to have no light at the end of the tunnel, and then to have to be training in that kind of environment and not getting that growth, you lose enjoyment for it. And obviously you play to enjoy. I think that's the main, why everyone plays, you play to enjoy it. So when that enjoyment really gets sucked out of it, you kind of question like, why do you do it? I was gonna can it. And then obviously opportunities arrive, injuries happen, you take those. And that was basically it. It was almost fortune. It was good fortune, basically. A lot of players have probably had that in the past, right place, right time kind of thing. And yeah, it just works itself out. It was a tough time, especially those 6 months. And I was obviously at the Sunderland of the season before with no kind of permit deal. So yeah, that was a real stay strong and hopefully see the horizon kind of moment.
Yeah, that's awesome. What an awesome turnaround. And I'm so pleased for you that everything's going great in Treviso. Just for anyone that doesn't know, Treviso are playing in the Pro 14 competition with teams from Wales, Ireland, Scotland, and obviously now a couple from South Africa. How's that? Have you done much travelling with the team? And if so, like how does your training week differ from like when you've been playing as a permit player or a loan player?
The weeks
more enjoyable.
Yeah, obviously it's nice to travel, especially last year when you could go the day before, have a walk around town, kind of see new places. Obviously, some places are more you prefer to go to some place like the boys went to South Africa for a 2-week tour rather than maybe, no offence, but going down to Swansea. A bit of a difference, Cape Town, or I'm not sure where the South African teams are, but there, or some of the other places. But yeah, it's nice. Usual week really, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday is the recovery day. Thursday, if the game's on Saturday, Thursday train, Friday team run, and then you go after the team run, play on the Saturday, sleep there, and then come home on the Sunday. And then just a monitored session on the Monday, and you start again.
And Treviso is one of them clubs that seems to be going from strength to strength. Like every year they seem to be doing better and better, becoming a bit of a household name in the Pro 14. Why do you reckon that is? What's changed in the last few years there?
a lot can be accredited to the coaching staff. I think before, the professionality of the club, I did a little bit with the first team when I was under 20s, and the professionality and the way they approach the games. Like some of the times the boys would be going on the same day in a bus, making 2-3 changes, a flight, them playing kind of thing. Boys would be tired, but now I think there's a lot more investment. The coaches have obviously instilled a more professional environment, work rate, all the things that could be attributed to a top club, and they've kept the same kind of group together for the last 3-4 years. There's not been many changes within the club, so obviously relationships improve, and
that's great. I think that's so key, the not having too many changes. I've definitely been in some clubs where you come in one year and you're one of like 20 odd new players, and you end up taking half a season to get some continuity, to get some sort of the relationships sorted out in the team, so that you can then produce the performances on the pitch. I guess if you got that already, because the guys already know each other for a year or 2 or even 3, you've got a massive head start. With regards to that, I've just moved to a new club down not too far from you, about a couple of hours in Piacenza, city near Milan, the Piacenza Lions, and we've just had our first game, cup game, cancelled due to COVID. A bit of a nightmare, because we've had a sort of 6 to 8 week pre-season now. Boys were raring to go, and the other team had 5 positive test results, so absolute chaos. But I wanted to ask you on that, like, how's it? You're in a much more professional environment than what I'm playing in right now, and we're already having problems in this seemingly semi-professional environment. How's things changed with regards to COVID? Is it just a case of getting on with it? Is it an annoyance? Like, what's changed with regards to everything there?
I think early on, when the situation was a bit more delicate in Italy, especially before our last 2 games of the 1920 season, I know there was a swab test every week, or maybe a couple of times a week. Yeah, every week at minimum. They were really precautious, telling the boys, right, no bars, like kind of telling the boys don't go out, not stay inside, so to speak, but stay inside, because if there's one test positive, then we can't play these games. But now it's slightly more relaxed, because we know other teams are also doing those tests before we play, the whole squad, before we play on the weekend, has to do a test. Any positives, which there haven't actually been any positive results, they get isolated. The rest of the team just trains. But like I said, there's actually been no positive results.
Yeah,
recently,
that's great. I guess so. So we're obviously over the toughest part, which was when all the positives were coming back and stuff. But it seems to be kicking off again. Hopefully we can just like nip it in the bud ASAP.
Exactly.
It's nice to see that Italy has like crowds and stuff and fans already going to matches. We played a friendly a couple of weeks ago, and a good few hundred were down. So for here, that's pretty good, considering all the fear and everything with what's been going on. So you guys, I think I saw a match. Who did you play against recently where you had quite a big crowd turnout? It looked like quite a good atmosphere.
It was Leinster at home last weekend. Yeah, I think it was 700 or so, which is not too bad.
Yeah, so I saw Leinster like tweeting out about like, oh, it's great to play in front of fans again, and obviously Italy's got things slightly more under control than back home, because I know back in England they're like saying that there'll be fans and then changing their minds and cancelling. At the same time, you've got, like, not to get political, but I just saw like theatres are like packed full of people and stuff, but you can't sit outside and watch the rugby or the football, even if even if you're taking account the social distancing and stuff, which it just seems a massive shame for the sport. I mean, obviously, not just your top professional clubs that are suffering, but your less professional clubs that like are really living and surviving off of like,
they rely on the crowd, don't they?
Exactly, and even to just pay their guys their whatever their 20, 30 quid match day fee, you know, from like National 2, National 3 clubs.
Yeah.
I imagine that they're suffering more than ever, and I guess
big time.
the sooner they get something sorted, or the sooner they can take a leaf out of Italy's book and look at bringing fans back, the better.
Doesn't the championship starts in January? It's purely on the basis that they think that's when fans will be allowed to be reintroduced into the stadiums, and that's where the majority of the income comes from. So they didn't want to rush into it, have no fans, and be playing kind of with no financial benefit.
Yeah, exactly.
It's tough for the boys, isn't it?
So tough as well, and obviously you've then gone from playing in front of however many thousands that normally come to watch like a Treviso Zebra derby to playing in an empty stadium. Like, how's
strange.
that difference? Yeah, is that strange? How does that affect the mental side of your game?
I know some Premiership clubs, they put the sound on of the fans, didn't they?
Yeah.
When you're watching on TV, you can kind of, there's no fans, but you can kind of hear.
Do you mean the Premier League football or the Premier League rugby? Premiership rugby? I'm not sure.
I think Premiership rugby have put some fan sounds in the background, and maybe if you're a fan, that kind of gets you up a little bit.
I thought you might be talking about the Premiership football, just because it was quite funny, because obviously some fans are going off at other fans that one club has no fans and stuff, and then they're playing audio out in the stadium just to make Man City, not mentioning any names.
But yeah, it was bizarre running out. We played that Zebra away game, and it was just silent. Yeah. You'd be there and you'd be setting up for a kick. Usually you, look or just have that moment of clarity, and then you look and there's just fans like shouting at you, or you hear the roar. But now you're just quiet. You just hear everything on the pitch. You can hear their calls really early, so you know when they're going out the back of the carrying pod or anything. Identify their calls early. It's kind of easier.
Yeah,
you can hear their calls and
do you find there's less pressure or more pressure on like you individually? Because obviously, like in the training environment, you're not really playing in front of any fans. There might be a few people on the side, like just watching, and you're being filmed and stuff. But obviously on a match day, it's a different story playing in front of thousands. But when you're not, I can imagine there's also a certain pressure there. So is it more pressure or is it less, or how do you find that?
You do try and block out the crowd when you're playing. Yeah. There's been certain occasions where I've just played and the game. Sometimes the game goes by as a blur. You don't really notice, but some fans, I think it was Cardiff away last year, they were proper getting into the players. Like you could on the box kicks and stuff. They were proper. I remember I was just running to a breakdown wide, and all the they were just shouting and setting up for a box kick, all shouting at me, calling me shit, and that's when you do hear them. When it's directed at you, you do hear the crowd.
Sounds like France, mate.
They're
16th man.
Ruthless. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're in your game, you do. I don't know. I can't speak for other people. I try and block out and just focus on myself, and that just kind of shuts out all the noise. But sometimes it finds its way in.
Yeah, nice. I wanted to mention one of our mutual friends who has been on kind of a similar path to you, I think. You played with him at uni, I think, at Bath. Zach Henry.
Oh, yeah.
And he sort of went on that similar route to you and didn't really hit the academy contract that he was looking for and stuff until after uni. He made the move abroad and then stayed in France, I think, for a good few years. How long were you playing with him? For a few years there?
Yeah, I think in my second and final year, we played in the same team, yeah. So
that must be quite cool, seeing like two guys from the same team, 9 and 10 predominantly, that have kind of done that university route, which isn't renowned for making top professional players. And you got one now tearing up in Pro 14 with Treviso, pushing the Italy squad, and the other one has just signed from the Pro D2 in France to Leicester Tigers in the English Prem. That must be awesome. Do you guys keep in touch or not so much?
Yeah, no, we're pretty close. We've seen each other a few times when we've met up in London. Yeah. And it was funny. We both messaged each other when his announcement came out, and I told him that I was staying on with Benetton. Yeah. And we had a good laugh because we were just laughing about the uni days.
Yeah.
I just think unprofessional training, you're going out during the week and then you find yourself in like a professional setup is quite funny, but he's well deserved. He was a good player at university, and obviously I've seen his highlights and I've watched a few Pro D2 games when he was playing out last year, and he's playing well. So like I said, there's hidden gems in the university circuit and they just need that opportunity. Like, he's one of many, isn't he? I'm sure there's others that are out there that can play or will in the future play, but it's good to see him doing well. It's like a good mate, isn't it?
I guess there's a bit of belief in yourself there as well, the way that you both like pushed for moves abroad and then have found yourselves in that environment away from home. Whereas I've said it before, and I think it does say something about the development path back home. There's something not quite right there if you've got guys really finding themselves and being able to develop their rugby abroad better than they've been able to at home. But you know, it is what it is. I might have to get Zach on the podcast then. I know he's a busy man like yourself, but you've managed to spare me 40 minutes. So
no, mate, it's absolutely pissing it down outside. I've got nothing to do all afternoon, so happy to
bloody
chat.
hell, any excuse, eh? I wanted to ask you, mate, you're obviously pushing this Italy squad, and I'm sure that's the next objective. You mentioned before that your grandparents came over from Italy in wartime. That call up, does it give you an extra bit of pride when you go and put, like, I'm sure they gave you a shitload of stash, and the Italian stash is phenomenal, but does it give you an extra bit of pride knowing that obviously however many years ago your grandparents came over from Italy and stuff, and the family's there, and obviously you got it in the blood, so how's that feeling?
No, the roots feel Italian. Like I've still got a lot of family here, and I think they're more proud of me than maybe my English side, because obviously they're through and through Italian. So when I go to my games, my uncle's always there, always supporting. He brings some of his mates along. I think that connection to Italy is pretty strong, as well as obviously I've got the English side, but my family, I think, still feels a little bit more Italian. They like to consider themselves Italian. So yeah, I think everyone's pretty happy with how it's going at the minute.
Awesome, man. And what's next on the radar? I know we mentioned like playing for Italy, but like in the nearer future, what are you looking?
To be honest, what future dictates? I haven't got a clue, to be honest. I've not got a clue. I'm just really enjoying my time in this environment, and anything that comes along is a benefit, really. Obviously, like we said, Italy's the next goal. I would love to get some caps this year.
Yeah,
if that's possible, that would be great. I'd just keep playing, get good game time. That's probably the main thing I'm focusing on this year, is to try and play as much as possible. Playing in this kind of environment, you see the development, and you see little things that you hadn't noticed about your game before, and little things that, not in terms of skill, in terms of off the ball management, and in terms of game management, that kind of things. They're the small details that I'm trying to improve on now. And playing with some of the boys here now, there's just 2 scrum halves. Well, there's at the minute this week there's been 2 of us. An older, more experienced guy, Duvanacher. Just watching him in training and some of his communication, some of his just impressive details, just small details. Like even a couple of things today, picked it up straight to the notebook, get those down. Just growing.
No, it's key, mate. Like you say, it's funny. It's been obviously a 180 from last year, where you're in an environment where you're feeling you're not moving forward and you're not learning, to then being in this, managing to get yourself where you are right now in this environment and thriving in it. And it sounds to me like you feel like you're growing like pretty much every training session. So strength to strength, mate.
Yeah.
I want to thank you for featuring Luca on the
thank you
episode
so much,
11. The Rugby Abroad podcast is getting massive. Obviously, I've changed the headphones since the last season. That was due to the sponsors.
Yeah, they're coming in, bro. They're
sponsors,
coming in.
Mate. They want it. They want a piece. No. No, but massive thanks for coming on. And for anyone listening, don't forget to subscribe and share, and obviously follow Luca on Instagram.
Some free promo, I'll take it.
Nice, mate. I really appreciate your time, and all the best,
mate,
and with the season.
Thank you very much, mate. You too. And
cheers, bro.
I'll try and come down to a few of the games if I can see a little Piacenza Padova game.
Likewise.
Get all the old boys under one roof. That'll be good.
Yeah, you know. Cheers, man.
Okay.
And we'll catch up soon.
You, mate. Have a good one.
Thanks.
Cheers.
You can subscribe to the podcast at rugbyabroad.com. Thanks for listening in, and I hope you join me for the journey.